Let's learn something. Today we're going to be talking about a spicy topic, the Song of Solomon. So now this basically talks about marriage, love, compassion between Solomon and his bride. Now it can also be further taken as Christ to the church. Now the main theme of Song of Solomon is about Solomon and marriage. Kind of talks about the beauty of marriage, the compassion, the feelings of marriage. It's a very detailed book. I don't encourage you less than like 15 to read it. But nonetheless, it also kind of correlates Christ with his love for the church. Now, not only does it talk about marriage, but it also talks about the fear of separation. And it also shows King Solomon kind of reassuring his bride of his affections for her. And you'll see that in chapter 5 through chapter 8. Now, all of this reinforces the theme of the goodness of marriage. Marriage is a beautiful thing. All of the general theme of Song of Solomon is talking about how good marriage is. It's such a beautiful thing, and it's one of the greatest gifts God gave us, second to his salvation and his grace for us. But nonetheless, marriage is a beautiful thing, a covenant between two different people, not a contract. And Song of Solomon is a great way to kind of bring that to life and to read and just see what he's talking about it. He has a lot of wise things to say, and I think ultimately every person getting married should read the Song of Solomon. On our animal spotlight today, we're going to be talking about the wood duck. Now, the wood duck and the mallard duck look very, very similar. However, the wood duck just has more color. They look the same, but the wood duck has more white, has more color around the face, has more colors on the body. The mallard is also a little bit bigger, I believe, and they have less color. So don't get them mistaken. You have the wood duck with more fluff, and then you have the mallard duck, a little more generic looking. Now, the wood duck is a resident and seasonal migrant in Florida. The male wood ducks are one of the most brilliantly colored birds in America. Now, the populations actually plummeted in the latter half of the 19th century as American forests were cut down and swamplands were drained. The populations, however, began to recover around the 1950s, and today the species is thriving. Now, for our financial portion today, we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency. I'm sure you have heard this if you are any way related to any kind of news network or anything a modernization of the world, you'll hear about cryptocurrency. Now, I don't know a whole lot, so I'm going to read it to you. Crypto is a form of payment that can circulate without the need of a central monetary authority, such as a government or bank. So that seems a little sketch to me, and it's kind of like playing with dark magic. I do believe it's going to be the future, and we're going to have to use this for currency exchange down the road. It's scary. I don't like it, but nonetheless, if you are not willing to change, you will be left behind. So I think it's vitally important that you understand this. Some of the most popular cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, all these different kind of currencies. There's a lot of them. If you're going to invest in any of them, I encourage Bitcoin or Ethereum, just because there's some of the more backed or supported or stable of the Bitcoins or the cryptos. None of the crypto is stable by any means. You'll be a millionaire one day and you'll be broke the next day. So I just encourage you to tread lightly with this. I throw a little bit of money each week into some kind of crypto, just so if it ever does do what it's going to do, unfortunately, with the World Economic Forum and all this kind of stuff, that way I have something to buy with. Again, that's not a recommendation for you. That's just what I'm doing. If you are going to invest in cryptocurrency, here are a few ways you can do so. You got Coinbase, Robinhood, Webull, SoFi, and TradeStation. Now you have some other companies like PayPal and Square. Some of those are kind of talking about it, but none of them have really pulled the trigger at this moment. But like I said, be very careful with cryptocurrency and just try to learn as much about it as you can, because I do believe, unfortunately, it will be the future. So in today's History Spotlight, we're going to be talking about when the fighting began for World War I. 1914 was the first battle of World War I and was a victory for the Allied powers. The French and British stopped the Germans. Both armies used a new type of warfare called trench warfare, in which the combat's fighting lines consisted of trenches that would shield them from gunshots. Years of trench warfare on the Western Front left Germany and French at a stalemate, with neither side of them able to dislodge the other from its trenches. New fighting techniques created higher number of casualties on both sides. Now, a stalemate is basically just a situation where no one makes any kind of progress. It's kind of deadlocked. And these trenches kind of created that because they were so fortified they couldn't get or make a, movement on the opposing party. Now, during World War I, there was also machine guns and artillery, poison gas, submarines, airplanes, and armored tanks. They were first used by the British in 1916. So there was a lot of new modernization in the fighting of wars at this time, and World War I kind of brought that all to front. And if you'll ever notice that whenever people are backed into a corner, that's when they kind of become the most, innovative, and that's when they kind of have to, kind of start producing these things. So that just kind of led to a lot of advancements in the military world was due to World War I. But that's kind of just a rough summary of the fighting tactics used in World War I. An inspiring quote from George Clooney: "You never really learn much from hearing yourself speak. So, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Always listen more than you talk." Hope you learned something today. Have a good one.